on, guys? My name is Aura. And welcome back to Amorous. It's been a while. By choice. A lot of people have been asking me, where is Seth? Why haven't you done Seth yet? Where's Seth? And as a play to myself where I'm going to try and complete certain series that I started but never finished, I thought we should finish the main one. Now, I've gotten even more problems with this game in the time I've been apart from it. But, of course, I'm your whore. I do what you guys want, and you wanted me to do so. So let's just jump into it. Hell yeah, guys. Not only are we playing Amorous, I'm playing Amorous on Steam, meaning I'm getting all the achievements from this. Okay. Despite him being alone at the bar of one of the most active nightclubs I've seen in recent memory, my eye was drawn to the slender feline leaning over his book. He would sit there for a long moment, and then, without cue, he would scribble frantically, and the leather-bound journal spread out before him. Now and then, he would lift his glass from the bar and lean back, pausing to take a drink as if someone was expecting him to. This adorable ruse was undermined, however, as each sip was followed by a grimace of barely contained disgust. I moved my seat closer to his, stealing a glance or two at what he was doing. The whole page was packed from end to end with a stream of consciousness broken only by the occasional notes and edits. He must have been less in his own world than I thought, because I became aware of his eyes locked on me with the ends of his mouth turned downward. Pardon me, it's not polite to read over someone's shoulder, particularly the shoulder of a complete stranger. Sorry, just you seem to be working too intently. I was wondering what could keep you so engrossed when an entire nightclub is pumping and thumping around you. Who's to say that pumping and thumping don't help to contribute to my creativity? I almost said concentrate. Being immersed in the beating heart of popular culture can stimulate the mind. Fair enough. Myself, I usually prefer a little peace and quiet if I'm going to be working on something important, particularly because strange people might come up and start reading over your shoulder. Oh, and it's Aura, by the way. Sorry, I know questions first isn't exactly the best manners. You just seemed a little out of your element. Seth, I'm Seth. I'll admit it's an escape, but it's also to help me work through the creative process. Many famous authors immerse themselves in the popular culture of their day to draw new experiences and observe people in new environments. I suppose that's true. I thought most of them indulged in part because it was their particular interest more than strict research. You don't strike me as the type to write romance or erotica, though. Why do you think that? I mean, I don't, but why would you assume that is the only motivation for me to be at this club? Mostly because even the bouncers are wearing half the clothing you are, and because I came here with my brother Kobe specifically because this is his favorite place to meet guys for a fling. You have to admit your choice of ambience suggests something more than just curiosity about popular culture. By now he was blushing furiously, the spots of red visible beneath his snowy white cheek fur despite his attempt at appearing aloof. Something spoke about his relative discomfort in being here. I'm not here to judge, it's just, well, interesting. I got enough stories from Kobe to get an idea of how this place tends to function, and you appear to be actively avoiding that function. Well, I'm honing my craft, trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, so I have a breadth of experience to write from. It's the sort of thing authors do. You sure you're not just lonely? So you're a writer. Maybe you've written something I've heard of before. What do you have out there? Well, I'm not published per se. I'm building a body of work before I approach anyone. Wouldn't want to come off as some sort of dilettante. So you just like the title. Do you have something I can read? I suppose that makes sense. Authors rarely have a single work to their name. Do you have something I could read, perhaps? He sat upright. The slouch that had been so prevalent before suddenly vanished. His ears perked up as well before he glanced to the side and then back at me. It took a long moment before he responded. I suppose you could look over a couple of my things. It's all still rough drafts, though. I haven't had it run by an editor, so don't expect too much. Hesitantly, he dug in the shoulder bag sitting beside him before producing another composition notebook. Then he sat down in front of me. It's mostly snippets and some poetry. I know, it's self-indulgent to play with rhymes, but you have to find your muse when it comes. He watched intently as I skimmed over his work. It was mostly fluff, fragments of ideas, and the occasional clever rhyme. Each piece seemed short, as if it were cut off before completion. He seems to have trouble sticking to an idea. Maybe that's why he was looking for inspiration. Well, what do you think? I mean, I can't expect much from what I provided, but input is always appreciated. Be honest. You've got some good starters here, but that's most of what I'm seeing. Some good opening ideas. Like you said, this was mostly just scribbles, but have you gotten to finishing a work yet? The muse comes and goes as with all creative endeavors. I've got plenty of good material to work with. I just need to find the right world to let it grow in. You seem very sensitive about your work for someone who is writing in the public eye. Well, writing is it pulls quite deeply from my internal well. Everything I write is in some way a reflection of myself. I suppose it's easy to take things personally. If I may be so bold, what brought you to the club tonight, since you clearly aren't driven by desire to quietly observe, nor are you obviously looking to get drunk or dance? I'm curious as to what your motivation is. Mostly, I guess, to keep myself occupied and distracted. Kobe, my brother, very much liked this place, but doesn't always want to go alone. I needed time away from my problems, and he wanted a ride. A match made in, well, necessity. Well then, where else might you have gone if you had the option, ignoring cost, location, or any of that? Actually, I think I'd still come here. It's been a while since I got to meet people, and I've never... people. I don't think that's the correct word. Actually, I think I still come here. It's been a while since I got out to meet people, and I've never been the type to come to a nightclub. It's something new to try and see how it goes. And Kobe loves this place, and I wanted to see what it was all about. The rest of the patrons definitely seem to enjoy it here, particularly if the volume of people on the dance floor is any indication. He seemed to be rather thrilled with his pseudo interrogation. He looked back up from his notebook with excitement. So, being that we are in this club, you already expressed curiosity as to why I'm here. What do you like about this club? Socializing. When I'm feeling mopey or just have too much time, I like to find other people to be around. Conversation, laughs, and banter between friends really helps to perk me back up. So you're an extrovert. Good to know. He looked a little surprised, jotting down a few extra lines in his notebook before glancing back up at me. I suppose I should be flattered you're distracting your attentions to just me then. Extroverts commonly don't enjoy engaging with me for extended periods of time. So we've established where you want to be and why you want to be there, but the big question is, who do you want to be there with? What kind of person would you be looking for at this club? I get the feeling that this is a somewhat pointed question. I also get the feeling that there is something more going on here than simple research. He shot me a Cheshire cat grin and placed a hand on his chest in mock shock. Clearly he was enjoying his intimate game of 20 questions. You, clearly, to be honest, you. I said about exploring the club at first, but you definitely caught my eye. There's a reason I'm here, and not in the pool or down on the dance floor, and that's because you intrigue me. He shifted a whole new shade of red as I smiled from the stool next to him. Absently, he looked away to scribble down a note or two before looking back up and clearing his throat to hide his shy response. Well, it's always nice to be noticed, though. I'm not usually the type of person to stand out physically. I mean, I wasn't sure what was more adorable, his attempts to cover up his embarrassment or the light shade of pink showing through those snowy white cheeks. Alright, one more question, and then I really should find Kobe and figure out what he has planned for the rest of the night. I suppose I have been prying pretty heavily. That said, you have been a very interesting character to study, to say the least. It's rare I actually get to interact with someone. I'd hope I was more than just an intellectual diversion. Is that not the case? I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's been interesting talking with you. I've been here for a couple of hours already, and you're the first person who stopped to talk and didn't want to take a drink order. I smiled and leaned on the bar. He was awfully cute when he desperately tried to regain his composure. So, what's the last question? He was hesitant, glancing down at his notebook for a second before scribbling something in the margins. As he looked back up, I could see his cheeks were still quite flushed. I was heading to the library tomorrow to do some research for a story, and there was a reading I was thinking of going to. Could I convince you to come along? Sure. Why not? I'd love to. What time? Really? I mean, great. The reading is a little before noon, but I'll be there early. Let me give you my number so you can call and let me know when you get there. He tore off the corner of a notebook page absentmindedly, leaving a snippet of poetry in the upper half, and passed it to me. Thanks. It'll be nice to have someone else there. It's always a little awkward to go alone. Sounds like a date then. I suppose it is. I need to get going. Be sure to call me as soon as you're up. I'll make sure to save us a seat. After gathering his things, he shot me another adorable smile and strolled off towards the door. I folded up the paper and slipped it into my pocket. New message tutorial. You finished the prologue. I can get back home. Oh, what does this button do? I'm getting Steam achievements. These are linked with my name forever now. Why'd it have to be Amorous? Why did it have to be... Seth, let's go. There's pictures now in the contacts call. Thank you. Fuck. That young feline writer seemed interesting. He said he'd be heading to the library today. Maybe I can still catch him. Ring... Hello? Hi, it's Aura from Amorous. What is going on, guys? My name is Aura from Amorous. If you couldn't tell, I don't want to be here. You mentioned I should give you a call today, and since I just rolled out of bed, I figured now was a good time as any. Aura, oh right, the interviewee. I'm glad to hear you called back. Okay, I'm okay. I'm just on my way to the library now. It's a great day for us. Jeepers. A loud thud on the other end of the phone was followed by some muttering and grunting. Apparently, I distracted him in the middle of something. Was this a bad time to call? It seemed like you were having some difficulties there. No, I just had a few books I've been meaning to return before they became overdue. Though sometimes, I think the only reason the library stays open is because of the fees I would wind up paying. I take it you're a fairly avid reader as well. Definitely. One can't expand one's horizon enough. I'm just about to head inside. Do you want to drop by and meet me in the lobby? Sure, let me just get reasonably decent and I'll pop right over. Oh, you never told me when the reading was. I hope we didn't miss it. Reading? Oh no, what time is it? Glancing at the clock, I saw it was a little after 10. After I mentioned it, Seth seemed to have calmed down. Ooh, sorry about that. I get a little too deep in my own head sometimes. The reading is at noon in the community room. We've got plenty of time. Good, well, I've got nothing planned this morning, so I'll just drop by since you're already up there. We said our goodbyes, as I tried not to flinch every time I had another book drop on the other end. Heard another book drop on the other end. I hopped out of bed to get dressed. Despite not needing to rush, I did feel a little concerned about making him wait. I scooped up some clean clothes and got myself as close to presentable as possible. Kobe was stumbling around the kitchen, blurry-eyed in nothing but his underwear, as I was heading towards the door. And where are you off to in a rush? Can you put some fucking pants on, you motherfucker? I do not want to see that. To think. I used to think it was funny to make people play this. Also, does anyone notice that the lamp kind of looks like a nipple? I'm not gonna unsee that now. Just meeting someone, found an interesting guy at the club last night, and he invited me to an event. Ooh, first date, huh? Don't get started, little bro. I'll beat your fucking ass with that. I heard everything that happened last night when you and your friends got back here. Okay, have fun, but I expect a full report. I promise, we'll dish all about him later. Fabulous. Later's good. Right now, I need coffee and a shower. Kobe followed his beak back into the kitchen as I made my way out of the front door. I honestly didn't... Ooh, man, it's been a while since my throat has hurt this much talking. And I don't normally get... My throat normally doesn't get like this when doing videos anymore. But I remember it happened so much when I played Amorous originally. I honestly hadn't been to the public library in ages between work and Kobe's nightlife. I've been too occupied to think about culture, probably why I was curious about this feline. Not that my friends were dim, far from it, but they were more passionate about surfing, tanning, and chasing tail than discussing the latest popular literature. Last night was all about trying new things, so I figured this was another tick mark off the newest bucket list. His adorably nerdy look may have also had some influence on my choice. There's a book right there. I wonder, can you read what that says? That'd be interesting if you could. True to his word, Seth had found us a couple of seats close enough to enjoy the reader, but not in immediate view. Everyone else was getting settled in, so I managed to make it to my seat with a minimum of fuss. Seth beamed at me before turning his attention back to the front of the room. The dew had settled on the lawn just outside the front door, glistening in the last few rays of moonlight before the sun crested the horizon. I didn't know what was being read or who the author was. The place card just outside the room had a few bits of information on it, but nothing that rang a bell. Seth chuckled quietly, likely due to my confused expression. His name is Nick Kavak. He's one of my favorites for I like to read. Blood was the color of the clouds, and the salmon washed crimson spilled in rivulets across the floor before him. It was a body emptied of life, and a life emptied of meaning. Light. Read? What definition of the word light are you using? It's a genre fiction, murder mystery with a little thriller thrown in for spice. He's got a way with words that really captures the imagination. The sound of boots rattled the windows and shaking the shutters pulled him from his reverie. Too soon they would be upon him, and thereafter he would join the woman he discovered upon the paving stones. It's certainly hard to not form a mental image. You've read a few of his books? Why? All 14 in his current series. I found him midway through the second, so I got some insights I shouldn't have into the first. It ruined the mystique for me, and I haven't been able to bring myself to try reading them. 14, how many has he written in total? Oh, about 28 or so. He's prolific, sure, but that's why he does so well. 2 staccato shots rung out across the barren fields, and the pang of heat and pain radiated from his shoulders. He held secrets best left unspoken, and his persuader meant to silence him forever. You said you were doing some research for your own story. How far along is that one? Even in the dim light, I could see a frown creasing the corners of his mouth. He sunk back into his chair for a moment before whispering his response. Honestly, not as well as I had hoped. Writing is a very private vocation, but that makes it even harder when you stare at an empty room and a blank page. I admit, I am here in part to hopefully absorb some of his ambient genius in the hopes of inspiring myself to put pen to paper. So just like the club, you're here trying to gain inspiration through osmosis. Somehow you make it sound more desperate than I intended. Sorry, kinda. If you're looking for a sounding board or just some input, I'd be more than happy to help you out with that. Really? I mean, really? His eyes were wide with what I could only assume was excitement as I nodded. He was cute, intelligent, and interesting. My type of man. Why not take some time to help him out? Maybe he's even put me in the forward. This is fantastic. Why don't we go grab some lunch after this? My treat. It'll give us some time to chat about above a whisper. Sounds good. I didn't have a chance to grab anything before I headed out the door. His grin was infectious, and I couldn't help but smile before he turned back and settled into his seat. He was really excited as the prospect. Who knew it would be that easy to get a lunch out of him? Far worse than the iron bars and rain-sickened concrete of the cell was the knowledge that escape could be impossible. Beyond those walls, he was a haunted man, and only within their icy embrace could he hope to live another day. Seth nudged me as applause rolled through the room. I guess I hadn't been paying as much attention as I thought. The two of us made our way through the crowds and back out to the lobby. It was there that I noticed the small wooden table with a pile of books on it and an author's picture on a stand. Seth was busy chatting with some of the other attendees, so I found a place to sit nearby. When he finally stepped away, he made a beeline for me. Alright, there's a nice little coffee shop down the road. I've got a couple of books to grab before we go, so can I meet you there or can you wait for me? Apparently Seth didn't notice the signing table or the author heading in that direction. He didn't mention enjoying his books. Why don't I just wait and I'll see you back here in a second? Excellent, I'll just be a moment. Seth wandered off to the circulation desk while I maneuvered to the table. Thanks for coming, it's always nice to see a good turnout. You're welcome, first time I've been to a reading. I don't get it out as much as I should. Then double thanks, it can be hard to compete with everything else there to do. What can I do for you? My friend is a big fan of yours, could I get a signed copy of your latest book for him? Sure, it's part of the reason I'm here. Do you have something in mind for me to write? He's an aspiring author himself. Could you put in some words of encouragement? Of course, just to tell him to not steal my audience. I have to eat too. He chuckled and jotted down a few inspirational words before signing him name with a flourish. After I'd paid, I slid the book into my coat to keep it out of sight for a surprise. Thanks again for coming. I've got another reading later on in the month. I hope to see you and your friend there. I'll mention it to him. Thanks again. Back. Hopefully I didn't keep you waiting too long. Not at all. Shall we get going? Seth nodded and the two of us ducked out of the front door and onto the street. I had to juggle the book a little to keep it a secret, but Seth was so engrossed in talking about the reading it was too difficult. The coffee shop was a nice little place. Starluck Coffee? Starluck? The fuck? There's something fucking I don't want a fortune cookie with my coffee, okay? Actually, I kind of do. Now I want a fortune cookie, and not even for the fortune. I just like the taste. The coffee shop was a nice little place, cozy and inviting. We settled into a table after grabbing a coffee each and a scone. I barely had time to take the first bite when Seth produced a number of notebooks. My writings are a little scattered. I tend to just grab what I have handy to jot my thoughts down. Well, seems to me the first thing to do would be to get organized. You've got a bunch of bits and pieces, but have you considered what you want to do with them? I was thinking of maybe something involving the man, but I could also bring in that sounds like a no. I just don't quite have my thoughts together. It's not as simple as that, you know, there has to be some... Seth, no is okay. No doesn't mean there isn't something to work with. It just means you don't yet have a direction. Wasn't that the reason you wanted to do this? You're right. Sorry, it's easy to get lost in my head, I suppose. Writing seems to be a really important thing for you. What got you started? Reading mostly. I've always been a little bookish, and while I enjoyed so much of my time in other people's worlds that I wanted to make some of my own. I assume you aren't just a writer, since you're still working on a book. What else do you do with your time? I'm not terribly fond of talking about it just because it's embarrassing. Well, now you have to tell me. I'm a trust fund kid. My parents have been fairly well off financially, and they set aside a sizable sum for me when I got older. That would explain why you're able to live in town. I was sort of brought along to the city with a remarriage when I was younger, and I've also been pretty fortunate in that regard. Not to be too forward, but you don't seem terribly happy being idle. My work had eaten up quite a bit of my free time, so when that obligation vanished, I kind of felt lost. I'm glad my little brother got me out of the house at least. He sounds like an equally interesting person in a different way, I suppose. He's a character, but I love him. We went on for a bit longer, chatting about this or that, until my coffee was gone and we turned our attention to the pile of notes Seth had brought. I've got an idea. You're right in that I spend a little too much time in my own head. Maybe what I need is some structure. Sounds good. What do you have in mind then? Since I can't seem to settle on something, why don't you tell me what I should write? Really? With all your talk of muse and inspiration? I think of it as an exercise. You'll give me a framework and a build from, and I write the story. It'll give me a focus and keep me from wondering. Alright, I suppose that makes some sense. Why me, though? Because when we both have some investment in the final piece, that will make it more likely you'll keep humoring me. Fair enough. What should we start? At the beginning, what kind of genre should I write? Sci-fi. Now, do I want fucking robots? Do I want like time travel, dimension travel, or do I want? Well, I guess fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons, can also do that. Fantasy could end up going into sci-fi. Fantasy can spread out. Like, you can have a romantic fantasy, a horror fantasy, a sci-fi fan. You can have those all bunched in together at some point, like in, different installments. We'll go fantasy. Swords and sorcery have always been an enjoyable read for me. Knights, monsters, and magic all clashing in a far-off realm. Will there be damsels in distress? Maybe some heroic mythos involved. I can see some ideas. Okay, how do you see the main character? Is there some defining feature you like? Deeply flawed. I like complex, multifaceted characters. People who mess up but have to keep going. Something about the struggle to just get by really resonates with me. My favorite kind, nothing like being able to explore shortcomings through that lens, having someone for whom they are only gray options, no black or white. I'm getting some great ideas here. I told you that you'd make an excellent muse. Glad I can help. That said, I've got a question for you this time. Oh, suddenly the interviewer becomes the interviewee. My, how the tables have turned. It's quite the plot twist anyway. I was wondering, what do you plan on doing with the story after you're done? I hadn't really considered it. It's probably something I shouldn't even worry about until it's written. I think you should keep it in mind. Ponder it. I also think you should keep those notebooks away. Let this story build itself. You'll be less inclined to overwhelm yourself. Fair enough, but I reserve the right to call you the instant it's done. I'll need your eyes on it as soon as it's out of the printer. It's a deal. Looking at the clock, I noticed we already spent quite a while chatting back and forth. Despite not having a set schedule of my own, I figured Seth may have had other places to go. Well, it's afternoon already, and I don't want to keep you. I mean, if you're busy. I should get to it. The fresher the ideas are in my head, the more likely I'll be able to actually keep with it. He smiled up at me for a moment before we both began clearing the table, standing up and tucking in our chairs. Thanks again for this. Don't say my name. I don't want you to say my fucking name, okay? Okay? I'm already stuck here. Okay? Don't remind me. Okay? Okay. As long as we're on the same page. It's the most motivating I've been in quite a while. Or motivated. It was good to spend time with you. Same here. You're a very interesting person to be around, Seth. It's a nice change of pace. Only interesting? No. Not at all. You are also extremely adorable and sweet when you aren't wrapped up in your own thoughts. I'll still take the compliment, thanks. You've got my number, right? Give me a call if you have any questions or if you'd like to chat. I think so. You called me, right? Let me just write it down so you don't lose it. I scribbled it down for it, and he put it in his pocket, smiling happily at the offer as he checked his notebook was secure one last time. I will make ample, but hopefully not burdensome, use of your opinion or a thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. I got this for you. I know you liked that offer, and I thought it would be a nice gift. When I handed him the novel, his eyes went wide. A smile spread across his face in an instant, and he looked back at me, beaming. You got me a signed copy? I didn't even realize he was doing signings, Aura. This is the best thing I've ever gotten. Before I could react, he leapt up against me, wrapping his arms around me and pressing it lips to mine. We both began to blush after that moment of exhilaration began to fade. He quickly pulled away and glanced down towards the floor. Sorry, I didn't mean... Fucking, we're going all in. Oh, please, don't be sorry. I stepped forward and pressed my lips gently against his, just like this. Just like... Giving his cheek a soft stroke before pulling him away. A barely audible purr rumbled from his chest before he turned his head to cough and regain his composure. I'll have to remember to not let you go so soon next time. Well, I need to get going. Got to keep the story fresh. We said our goodbyes, parting after a final lingering hug. As I watched him leave, I felt a sense of happiness. Man, I hate to see him leave, but I love to see him alone. Anyway, I hadn't experienced the past few weeks. Writing was a very important thing to him, and in the span of a cup of coffee and a cake, he'd wanted me to be a part of that. I hadn't been that important of a person to anyone but Kobe recently. Work had kept me busy, but without that, I began to realize that I wanted something more. Maybe this could be that something. Either way, I'd need to be ready with some juicy gossip when I got home, or Kobe will never stop pestering me. Okay. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Amorous. It's been quite a while. Good to be back. Not really. Don't worry. There'll be some snow days, or some. There'll be some snow day. I'm gonna try to get this done because it's a 3-parter. That's how I normally format these. Each day is its own video. I'm gonna try to do those quickly, but I'm also gonna spread them out because I need to bleach my eyes with some snow days or summertime saga or something. But anyway, guys, my name is Zora. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, you can hit the dislike button, but I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button if you enjoyed. Comment down below if you'd like to see more Amorous, or if you'd like, because I also believe there is an update that's gonna add more stories to people. Do you want me to do that too? But, anyway, guys, peace off. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can check out my previous video here, or even a playlist related to this video here. There is also a video that was picked out by YouTube just for you, and last but not least, you can click here to subscribe. Anyway, guys, my name is Zora, and I'll see you later. Take care.